This is Faisal Qureshi.
This is Umar Sheikh, and this is Tanya Khan.
Welcome back to Loose Ends.
And here we have with us Saira Kamar, who's an architect, and Mariam Said, who works with a foreign bank.
Today we're going to discuss what is it like to be a woman in Pakistan. Before coming here, I was doing some reading on the internet and I came across this news item at New Zealand Fairfax Limited. It's about this gentleman called Mr. Tahir Mirza Hussain, who's been in our legal system for 20 years, and finally today he's been sentenced to death.
He's the British gentleman, right?
Yes, he's the British gentleman who made an unfortunate trip to Pakistan, and he was just here on holiday, and apparently a taxi driver pulled over, took out a gun at him and tried to take advantage. And during the struggle...
When you say take advantage...
I think he wanted to steal his money and use him for some pleasure,
okay.
I reckon. During the tussle and fight, the gun went off and the taxi driver died. This young boy went to the police on his own and reported the case, but he was arrested immediately for murder. This case went on in April 1994. His sentence was reduced to life in prison, and then in May 1996, the High Court acquitted Mr. Hussain of all charges. I'm reading this from the report in the New Zealand Fairfax.
I've just got a question.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with women?
Oh, we'll get to that in a second, Omar.
Okay.
But a week later, well, here it is. But a week later, while he was awaiting release, the case was referred to a Sharia court.
All right.
On the basis that the crime was charged with armed robbery, which came under the jurisdiction of the Sharia law.
Define the Sharia law.
Sharia law was introduced in 1979.
Okay.
And one of the controversial elements of this law is the Hudud Ordinance, which we've all heard about over and over again.
Okay, I've heard about it, but define it again.
Hudud Ordinance covers adultery, rape and theft and requires 4 male witnesses for rape allegation to be successfully prosecuted. This is the most disputed part of it. However,
4 male witnesses for
yes.
rape allegation?
There's a lot of agencies right now who are actually putting it through a lot of scrutiny to the Hudud law and trying to implement a lot of changes to it because it's completely unfair and irrational.
In 1995, the repeal of Hudud law was pushed by the present government, but according to some human rights monitors, 80% of all adultery-related Hudud cases are filed without any supporting evidence.
80% of them?
Yes. The way that works is you can report a case, you get arrested. By the time you produce evidence, that takes time, the legal system, you have to produce...
Yeah, because someone's going to be sort of waiting for you to get raped and just be your witness.
Yes, and it's just not casual witness, it's witness of the actual act.
Right, but here's the other thing, and if one of the witnesses is not a Muslim, then that's disregarded. That witness is completely disregarded. Yeah.
Yes, that comes under the Shahadat law.
Okay, so the Hudud law has a Shahadat law which...
Well, the Shahadat law is actually part of most... I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really say this with authority, but in my understanding, the Shahadat law controls who can give witness in most of our legal system, but I'm really not an expert on this.
Actually, I find it really interesting that the Hudud Ordinance has been applied to man.
Yeah,
that was what caught my attention, because
Hudud Ordinance has
I think generally it's
the Sharia law which has Hudud Ordinance under it, and Hudud Ordinance which covers adultery, rape and theft.
So it could be.
But you know, when you said that the taxi driver tried to take advantage of the man, you know.
But that is not where the Hudud was invoked. The Hudud was invoked because they charged him with armed robbery. They didn't get him.
Okay, they got him.
They couldn't get him in murder because murder falls under the jurisdiction of the court, the regular court, and the regular court acquits him in. In April 1994, his sentence is reduced to life, and then in May 1996, the High Court acquits Mr. Hussain of all charges.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I still haven't had anything to do with women yet.
Yeah. What is this?
So the Hudud is one of the instruments used against the women. Such laws exist, and those are just some of the instruments used for, that's where you can't scream rape, you can't scream abuse, you can't scream anything. Because the moment you do that, first you come to jail and we'll book you, and then we'll investigate. And thus the society has predominantly become used to that. However, the rest of the world has gone through that phase. The woman has been treated poorly in the West as well. However, in their workplace and the political correct environment, they have now come to break away from that.
One question. Going back to what you said earlier, where you said the Hudud ordinance, well, you implied that it worked against women.
Yeah.
I beg to differ because I'm not sure if I'm not that acquainted with the Hudud law, but is it the law that is incorrect or the system that applies the law?
Well, I think a lot of the things in the Hudud ordinance are also based on our personal culture and environment. So it's not entirely religious. If you take it down to what religious says and the priority religion gives to women and the rights it gives to women, there's not much of that in the Hudud ordinance. It's mostly down to our cultural preferences.
So then
it's a male-dominant law.
Are you saying that it's how we interpret the law?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. That then
how we interpret the religion.
How we use the law.
Yeah.
So it's not the religion or it's not the law. It's
not at all. There are instruments available which can be used against the women. They can be used against men as well, but they're more usable against women, one. And secondly, because we are a male-dominated society, we do get away. When I say we, I don't mean Umar and myself. We're decent, very law-abiding citizens here. Yes, Umar took a look the other way. But generally speaking, the system is built such that the man gets away with just about anything, and the woman does not. Even in the case of most of the Hudud cases which have happened in the past 20 odd years, the woman gets into trouble. Man does not get into so much trouble. That's now, please.
And just on that, when you say it's a male-dominated society, statistically it's a female-dominated society because 56% of our population is women. When you say
but unfortunately they're not in professional positions.
No, I mean
the
that's what I'm saying.
The workforce is much smaller.
The government wants to have a minimum of 5% female population in the work field. However, even that is not fulfilled.
But when you say that it's a male-dominated society, firstly, there are more women than men. Secondly, what makes a society? Mothers, fathers, parents, friends, and we're all playing a role in that, right? Whether we are bosses at a workplace or not is regardless. How do you bring up your child? What do you tell your son? If you have a son and a daughter, do you give some benefits to your son and not to your daughter?
Well, a common occurrence in a typical Pakistani household is beta पैदा होता है तो मिठाइयाँ जाती हैं, बेटी पैदा होती है तो उसको बचपन से ही शुरू कर दें कि नहीं तुम पराई हो. You're gonna go.
My own sister had her second daughter, first daughter, second, and I'm at the hospital, it's a Janal hospital. And this nurse walks up and she says, Mubarak ho, and you go, चलने कोई ना अल्लाह बेहतर करेगा. And I'm like, खैरियत है क्या हुआ? And you go, बेटी हुई है. I'm like, that's superb. Problem क्या? कहती नहीं देखें धारे होता है ये तो चलता है जिंदगी में अल्लाह बेहतर करे.
That's a classic case of
भाई बेटी हुई है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह खैरियत से.
Discrimination against women by women, and I feel
that right from
in our society women are discriminated mostly by women.
One more thing, when we say it's a male-dominated society, it's not a war of the numbers.
No, I agree.
When we say male-dominated society, what we're referring to is you could have 500 women and 5 men. 500 women could stand there and say, ये जो 5 आदमी हैं, ये आवारा हैं, दफंगे हैं, बुरे हैं, आदमी कहेंगे, अरे बदनाम हुए तो क्या नाम ना हो, मर्द हैं, भाई क्या हुआ? और वो 5 आदमी उनमें 500 औरतों के भाई ये सब आवारा हैं, बुरी औरतें हैं, तो उनको संसार कर दिया जाएगा.
But that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is not that okay fine there are more women in the world than men. What I'm trying to say is that our society is structured such that it's not the men only that discriminate against the women. It's not the men that have made our society such. It's also the women. It's how mothers bring up their sons. It's how sasses treat their bahus. It's you know it's like the nurse in that hospital. So it's in our own minds.
बेटा जो होता है अजीम होता है, चाहे 12 बेटियां हो जाए, बेटा फिर भी होना होता है.
But wait, I just want to come back to if I'm not mistaken, in your workforce right now you have a lot of female staff, am I correct?
We have We're 3 females. We're
Okay.
all partners. We
Okay.
graduated and we started working on our own.
So it's your own firm.
It's our own.
And in,
3 women together.
3 women.
Okay.
now, how does that? How is the rest of your staff balanced out? What is the
We
ratio?
have like one person. We have like a receptionist. and
Okay.
then we have one
Is that a
person
male or a
that's
female?
A male.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have another person who's also a male,
Okay.
a young guy who does our basically he's kind of the office manager type of
Okay.
person. And then we hire draftsmen and other people on contract
And
basis.
these are also males, generally
They're
males.
males.
Sorry,
Now-
can I ask you just one
That's
question?
very interesting because that is something that I mean I don't know how this would come out, but when we were interviewing for an architect, we wanted ideally a woman, okay, but most of the females that came for the interview, we thought they were not independent enough. You know, because in our job you have to go out on site
But
visits.
see, that's unfair because you're not
Yeah,
giving them
I
an
ag-
opportunity. I mean, how? I mean, I've just gone to NCA. I'm a woman. I've gone to NCA and I've come out with a degree from a conservative family. I need a chance.
Umar, I'm sorry to interrupt. Why did you come out like this from NCA?
I'm trying to be a woman.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to be a woman.
Are you having trouble
But
with
I'm just
that?
saying, my question is, I'm from a conservative family. I can change my voice also if you like. I'm coming from a conservative family and I've come to your firm for a job. And you're absolutely right. I don't have the confidence to go out into the market and work with a predominant, well, actually work with an entirely male labor force because no one's going to show me the ropes.
Also, Sarah, before you answer that question, you 3 partners obviously are fresh out of school going to your own company. Did you have the confidence when you came out of school, or did the society beat you up enough and you had to evolve into that confidence?
No, we wanted to have our own firm
But
because we
how
were
did you manage? Because you interviewing
We
all these girls who
managed
don't have the
by-
confidence, and if you could manage without the confidence, or did you have the confidence,
No, we had the
which you look
confidence.
for in fresh girls?
No,
We
they
had
must
the
have had
confidence.
it.
Where did you
Yeah.
get that confidence from?
to know probably I don't know maybe our
And all
families.
3 friends have the same level of
Yeah,
confidence coming
yeah.
to, or did you 3
Because
convene because of confidence?
initially we were discouraged from doing it. You know, there were people who told us that
Tell us
don't do
more.
this. How will you make it on your own? You have to work under someone. You don't know this. You're 2-3
But
females.
that's a normal
Okay,
learning
But
curve
we
of-
decided to just go for it. We decided that no, we can make it happen.
Wait,
and
were
we're going to
you
make it
advised to
happen.
take in a man as well? Were you advised कि भाई अपना काम अभी ना शुरू करो कुछ market में
We were
experience ले लो?
advised initially. Actually, we did have a guy with us who stayed around for I think about a month
Why'd you leave?
because he just
You were
couldn't hack
bullies.
it. He just couldn't hack it. He couldn't deal with it because
He couldn't
initially
deal with
when
what?
he couldn't deal with the pressure of working maybe with 3 women. I don't know.
Were you harassing him?
He was
I
harassed.
think he couldn't work with
Were you
us
harassing
because
him?
we
Why?
were too.
Now I'm curious. Why couldn't he
Yeah.
work with you? What were you doing that made
You
him
seem
so
like an
uncomfortable?
amicable person. I mean,
I don't know.
Are your
He
partners
couldn't-
very difficult to deal with, or were they sexually aggressive?
I don't think they're difficult to deal with. We've been together for 6 years
what-
and we were
and
perfectly
this
right
gentleman
with
is your
each other.
colleague?
He was actually a batchmate.
So he's a
We were
batchmate.
together. We studied together for
Gala
5
boy.
years.
So he spent 5 years with you. He's
Yeah.
he's a good mate. He's friends.
he's
he
a
comes
nice
out,
person.
works with you, and
for
month.
about a month and a half, and then he quit.
So in 40,
No, so
he's
his-
with you 5 years, and 45 days he's over.
And his
Tell us
reason
more.
for leaving, his reason for leaving was because he couldn't deal with you 3.
No, he didn't say.
Yeah,
Well, he didn't
how
say
did he-
that. What he said was that he just said that I don't. You see, initially we had a lot of problems. We were working from a very rundown kind of place because
Okay.
we did not want to ask our parents for money.
Right,
We took our own money and put it into the office, and it was very difficult. You know, we didn't have a lot of money initially. I think we were taking a salary of 2,000 rupees a month because that's how much we were generating.
For a woman, that's a lot of money.
Really.
But I really want to understand
So
why.
I don't know.
why?
He just felt he couldn't deal with the pressure of I don't know. Maybe he felt he couldn't deal with starting out on his own without having
Okay, and
some help.
No,
I don't know.
Let me interrupt. Excuse me.
Hang on, wait,
Where
wait,
did he
wait,
go
wait.
from where he left? Where did he go?
I think he went to
No,
one
don't
of the.
I think I'm sure you know he's a
He
friend.
went to one of the top firms.
He took a job.
He took a job.
Wait, Dani was going to say something.
I was going to ask you that since he didn't state his reason for leaving, how did you assume that his reason was because
No, he
couldn't-
said basically
What
what he
did
said
he
was
say?
he said that I can't deal with this. Okay?
Deal with what?
Deal with
the
the
3
work.
women? Did
no,
he
no,
state
deal with the work.
the
He said I
female-
can't deal with the work.
The start.
I can't
basically.
deal with the start of all
Acha,
of
theek
this.
hai.
It's too, too slow.
So you
it's taking up too much
assume-
time,
I've
and I
sussed
just
it
need
out.
to.
I've sussed it out.
Mr.
I've
Mr.
sussed it
Sheikh,
out.
if you do that, you'll be waiting for a long time for God to answer. You will have to jump
in a
in like a
civilized
Pakistan.
world, you get a response. Maybe here is
This
different.
is Pakistan. You have to jump in and have you seen the way people cross on Khaiban that Zamzam Boulevard? You're gonna have to do that, sir.
Mariam, you want
Hang
to-
on. Yes, it's a male-dominated society, and they want to rule.
Yeah.
However, the males, women out there are going to love me for this. the males that we do have here have an ego, which I think is the reason why this chap left, because he could not prove himself to be as equipped to deal with the challenges as these ladies were.
No, I'm sorry. I think I'm going to defer because the answers come out right. He actually went and took a job. If he had started shop next door, I would have said, I would like to know more
He's got
of
an
what you
ego.
guys were doing to him.
He's got an ego. I'm sorry.
No, you're
he took a
assuming.
job.
I don't think he could work. He couldn't face the challenge that here we have 3 ladies who are equipped to take on the world. Yeah? And they're confident and they're going to face the challenge and they're going to succeed and that's their aim. He was thinking,
I'm afraid that's
he was
not-
just a lazy
There's another possibility.
man.
He was impatient.
I don't think.
No,
I
no,
actually.
no, there
in
was-
his favor, I don't think he was
No,
lazy.
I think there was a chance of them going bust.
Side hairs.
Because Umar, I mean, there was a chance of them going bust. He wanted to get out quickly and get a job. Where has he reached in life today?
Actually, I think he's doing quite well. I think he left the country, and I believe he actually left architecture altogether.
There you go.
And
There you go. He
started-
just wasn't interested.
I think he
No,
did
no, it's-
something
it-
in
no, it's not that.
aeronautic
It's not
space
that.
or something.
No, but Saira, what indication did you have that it was an issue between a male working for 3 females? What indication did you have that that
He
could
wasn't
be-
working for us, you see, because at
Working
that
with
point
you.
he was
Working
an
with
you.
equal partner.
Okay,
Umar, have you
even
noticed he
working
gave up
with
his
you.
career? It says right
One
here.
single male working
Those
with
who
3.
do fight
Wait,
pay
wait,
dearly.
wait.
I'm so sorry, forgive me.
No, what I was asking you was that he was one single male working with 3 females, and the topic of this conversation, the reason why we brought it up was because, assuming that he left his working with his partnership with you guys because you were 3 females, right?
But hang on, let's take
So I
Mariam
think
now.
that proves the point that you were trying to say, that if women do one, they can dominate.
Exactly.
And they can
No,
push
and
the
it's
male.
not about domination. I mean, you see, anything that falls out of equilibrium will eventually fall back into equilibrium. I'm just saying that it should just be a fair society. It should be a fair. He who is best should win, or he or she.
Agreed.
Talked about the woman can fight her battle if she does it right, but there are various phases of problem, and this line says very well: the threat of ridicule, intimidation, and termination is used in keeping women from coming forward. Now, if the woman empowers herself and finds the strength and goes fighting, she can fight the intimidation. I mean, she can challenge the intimidation. She can challenge harassment, physical advances, all of that. But in this society, where most men would take pleasure in humiliating a woman by just talking poorly of her, more than always you will find fingers pointed at a woman, and the woman will just take embarrassment. The ridicule is the biggest weapon. Now, you are working for a large multinational bank. You have the same food chain, if I may say. You, and looking at you, we know that you are very scared that you can take on the intimidation. We will not intimidate you. You can take on the harassment. That will put Umar on leash. But what about the ridicule that can come to you?
See,
And before you answer, I would add, when we're discussing this topic, our biggest fear was, will we find women to come out, sit on this table, share a cup of horrible iced tea with us, and say, I was harassed, I had this happened to me, I had this problem, because everyone says, I can't take that ridicule. I can't come on national TV and say bad things happen to me.
Although I think, especially for women, and I've always said, personally, from my experiences and my growing up, women have been far more superior. A situation like this could be a great opportunity for women to actually come out and say that we are not frightened of the men, and this is what has happened, so you better face up, or we're going to put you out on the tabletop and see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
You mean the opportunity of being
It's
here?
like Mariam is here, and Sarah is here, and they can say that, yes, these things happen, or a lady XYZ could come and say that, look, this has happened, this is happening, I'm dealing with it. Okay? So you women out there, like girl power kind of thing.
माशाल्लाह आप दोनों तो ये जंग जीत ली है ना किसी हद तक. You won the
you
battle.
never really won it, because you go through different phases of life, and
but
you
you're doing
do
well.
face it
But you're doing well
again and again.
But you're doing well. You अपने तलवार बंदूक हाथ में है और जंग सही चल रही है, आप हार नहीं रहे. तो वो जो experience आपका है, share that. We would like others to be able to say that these are role models. These two ladies.
But
We
I
can
want to
pick
say
up.
something. In the male-dominant society that we have, and all the challenges, and how the religious, the extremes, and la-di-da-di-da, I'm not anyone with a political opinion, but we did have a female prime minister 2 terms in a row. So that is saying something also. I'm not
Plus
saying
the
whether it's
fact
good for
that
us or
I mean,
bad for us,
politics
but-
and finance are two fields which are male dominated again, so to speak. And the governor of State Bank
Yeah.
is a woman.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a women bank.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
But
why should
in
you have
Pakistan and in
why should you have a
Pakistan.
women's bank as a discussion? Why do you have
Yeah,
औरतों का थाना
exactly.
मतलब आदमियों का थाने
But-
शरीफ हो जाए तो बस
but-
औरतों को थाने की जरूरत ना पड़े.
Going back to the point of ridicule, because I think it's an interesting point that you brought up. Ridicule is considered ridicule when you feel ridicule,
I agree.
correct? I feel ugly because I feel ugly. I may feel beautiful and someone may tell me I'm ugly, but that doesn't make me feel ugly.
I totally agree.
Okay?
Ah, depends.
So that is entirely dependent on you. If you do not respect a certain amount of people and they ridicule you or they have no respect for you, then do you care? Are you
Mariam,
your-
I'd want to defer there. एक आप कह रही हैं एक खुली इन्वायरमेंट में अगर 4 लोग आपके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो आप उसको इग्नोर कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर आपकी वर्क इन्वायरमेंट में जहाँ पर where there 500 men and 50 women and you walk into the office every morning and like,
no, but you see,
how long will you take that?
no, it's not about that. It's about what you think. See, I really believe that if you think what you believe is correct, and if you stick by it long enough, you will fight the away. Ridiculing myself and feeling ridiculed inside is worse than feeling ridiculed in front of 500 people.
Ji.
I'd rather feel that, okay, I did something, I know I was correct, and the world may point a finger at me, but I feel good about myself because I took a stand. And I don't care if they look at
Mariam,
me
they're
funny.
two different ridicules.
I think
No,
you're
no. What
talking-
I'm trying to say is that it's ridicule. There's one that you feel for yourself, and there's one the world feels for you. When you compromise something that has been done wrong to you, to escape the ridicule of the world, inevitably, I feel that you must have ashamed yourself because you should have let yourself down by doing that. You didn't. If you didn't take a stand for yourself, then no one will.
Two
And
different ridicules. I'm sorry, different ridicules.
No, hang on, let her go first.
You're talking about harassment.
I'm not
Your
talking about-
ridicule
no.
is connected to harassment.
No, Tanya. एक है you got the courage to come up here and say कि देखिए मेरे साथ बुरा हुआ था.
हाँ.
उसमें 100 people will say बड़ा बुरा हुआ बच्ची
हाँ,
के साथ.
ठीक है.
50 will say no, I don't know how true this is. 10 will say अरे बुरी होगी इसके साथ तो होने को पतलून पहनी है इसके साथ तो होना ही
हाँ,
चाहिए.
ठीक है.
वो that doesn't matter. That is not going to affect you. You walk down the street, if 2% people look at you funny, you'll walk the other way or you'll say भाई तुम्हारी क्या problem है. But
Most of the time, you'll even ignore it.
Yeah.
You're
If
educated
the
enough
whole
to
world
ignore it.
looked at me funny,
That is
but
not a
I
problem.
felt right, I
No.
would not have an
even
issue.
that is not a problem. The problem that I'm referring to, which is a killer, is आप सुबह 9 बजे से लेके शाम 7 बजे तक एक ऑफिस में काम करती हैं where there are 25 men and 2 women, and those 25 men spend the day shooting emails and chat messages back and forth about you. They make nasty pictures with your head on dirty pictures and they make look at you funny. How long can you sustain? अब
Tell
बाहर
me.
आके आपसे जितनी जंगें
Are
लड़
you
लें.
are you going to be the coy woman who will meander amongst these
But you
men,
got
or
to-
are you going to be the aggressive woman who will turn around and pull a collar and say stop it? I mean,
How will you say stop it? You
see,
got-
no,
you go to
I
your
mean,
boss.
in any environment.
But you go to your boss.
I'll tell you.
And the boss says they're probably salesmen.
We'll break it down. We'll break it down to the basics. Okay, we're talking about A and B, 2 opponents, right? As far as a woman being stronger or a man being weaker, or 4 being stronger and 1 being weaker, I don't believe in that concept because I think one can beat many, and strength is no longer useful because it's the male power which mainly comes from the physical strength is disregarded now. Okay, when there are 2 basic opponents, okay, it's the one who gets scared. Okay, it's the one who backs off, it's the one who allows that intimidation that gets intimidated. If you're going to allow something to happen to you, I always believe if you allow something to happen to you, it will. Sometimes things happen and you can't help it, but are you going to take a stand and say, no, this happened to me and it's wrong and I will set it straight? Because
But how would you set this one straight? You're in an office, the whole office is gang up. You
okay,
go to the boss,
let
the
me
boss
give you
is
an
the
instance.
dirty salesman.
I've been in a situation, okay? I've been in a situation where the odds were against me, okay? And at one level or second level or the third level or the fourth level or any, I mean, I'm not saying it was my workplace, but I mean, we all feel harassed in different situations. I felt that I wasn't being heard and I wasn't being understood, and I was being told that, you know, why don't you change?
Was this a harassment issue, or
It
it was just
it was, well, I felt harassed. So,
okay.
But,
So you're
but
saying there's
Like to
different-
elaborate?
wait, hang on a second.
so the point is this, that I was being told that as a woman that you need to change yourself if that is not what you want.
I just want to make a point, and we'll carry on with that. With reference to what she's saying, I think it's important to mention that when you're talking about harassment, as you're talking to, as when you do about abuse, it doesn't just mean that someone's touching you.
Oh,
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that
It's just
someone.
harassment.
Yeah,
In any
it could be
case.
anything. It could be anything that you personally find abusive to yourself, or you find something that's intrusive to your personality, and it's making you feel uncomfortable.
Anything.
So
Just
carry on.
respect.
What I was
Sorry.
saying was that yes, harassment is not just sexual touch or anything. It
No,
can be
no.
in many
Yeah.
forms.
It could be, but it's how you address that harassment also.
But
I mean,
in your
I
case-
mean, my feedback, I mean, in a lot of situations was that, you know, why don't you try to change yourself? Where I took it to different levels, and
Would you like to elaborate more, because I'm not getting my reference, my frame right.
well,
so
let's
I'm
say
trying
I
to
was in
understand
a
more.
situation where I felt harassed, and
Can you identify what kind of harassment?
well, it wasn't. It was. See, I feel harassment is anything that makes me uncomfortable.
Sure.
By uncomfortable being a woman. Okay.
course.
Any situation where I'm reminded that I'm a woman and not
Or
a
that you're
person,
weaker?
not even weaker. That I'm reminded that I'm a woman, or and not a person, or not a you know, a friend or an employee, whatever. Okay. If I'm reminded of the fact that I'm a woman, I would feel harassed.
What did you do? So what happened? So you approached these people.
Wait, the point.
Did you go higher in the food chain, but
It's
this
not.
level
You
was
see,
bothering you, so you went to this level?
I decided a certain level of the food chain, I was doing what she was.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
And then what worked?
And then I decided that sometimes the next time when someone does something, see, it all comes down to two people, a basic thing like fear. Two people looking at each other in the eye, and he who can stare longer wins. Do you understand? Right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, this is my war and I have to fight it myself. So I put the opponent in front of me and came down to what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and was assertive to the extent where he or she knew that he had to back off.
Okay. Now I'm going to address what you were saying earlier on. You are obviously, you know, from an educated, exposed family. You yourself are very well educated, and you know, I'm sure you're exposed to a good community of liberal standards, which has put you in this position where you have so much confidence and you can confront the individual. What would be
And may I add,
your
also
message?
the muscle to take him on.
You have the
Just
muscle. I mean, I compliment that. I give it great credit, and it's great to see that you can do that. What would your message be to those who are not as exposed, to those who are coming from poorer families, to those who don't have the choice because they are the only breadwinners? The father is crippled,
Yeah.
and the mother is lying on she's on her deathbed, and this girl has maybe a 12-year-old brother she has to put through school. This poor girl who's from that sort of a background, unfortunately is not exposed and doesn't have the courage to deal with these situations, doesn't know how. So what would be your message to people of that nature, of that social standard?
Basically, someone who cannot walk out and say, I don't need to take
I mean,
this.
what would
No,
be, as a woman,
I
a woman
would-
to
Firstly, I wouldn't regard myself as someone who would say my job is very dear to me, and it's just as
Right,
important to me as it would be for someone who
Being
needs
dear to
But
you
you're
is
in-
one
but-
thing, but
as
needing
far
it
as that,
to pay a
see,
bill tomorrow.
See, that it's all about priority, right? Then I'm saying is you need to earn bread for your family, you need to put food on the table, and it's your responsibility. But I'm saying in the same situation, right? Say if, for instance, if your boss is harassing you, right? Your boss is harassing you because he feels that he can intimidate you to the point where you will do nothing about it, where he's in his safety, he's in a safe place.
Let me add
right?
here. He also knows that you
Are dependent on
Thank
him.
you. It's not-
Okay,
and-
I agree, but you were dependent on him. But see, now that is where you are letting yourself down as a woman.
Yeah, but every
Okay.
woman maybe doesn't have
No,
a
but
daddy
then,
who
see,
could eventually
the
make a
minute-
phone
no,
call
no,
and settle
no,
this for
it's
you.
not. It's not. My daddy won't make a phone call. My daddy would probably turn around and say, "Beta, what brought it to this situation first?"
Right.
He would
Right.
question, and like anybody.
Okay.
But it's not that. It's not whether your boss will fire you. It's whether you're willing to take that stand.
Nee, my question is again.
No, let
you
me
know-
explain. What Umar's trying to tell you is what Saira mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of women who are working, who are still in the workforce, who are unexposed and uneducated, and how do they muster up the confidence to empower
See,
themselves
because
the way you
women
just
of
described they
lower
should?
income groups have to travel in buses. There's abuse there. Okay, they have to. They may experience. And remember this: a man staring at you or Tanya or you on a street is taken very differently by you as individuals to a girl who is not going who's on that particular street just to make it to work and back. Do you get what I'm saying? She's from a social background where even that walking down the street is an ordeal. It's a big let go from the parents. Could be, we don't have a choice. You have to earn some money for us. You know, so to that girl who's just walking down the street, who's conservative, who is not used to men looking at her, and she obviously takes the understanding of that to another extreme altogether. So this girl is walking down the street, is harassed. This girl is sitting in the bus to go home or go to work, is harassed. Okay, and again, harassment is of all different levels, where a man is just deliberately sort of rubbing you because he's pretending the bus is too packed. Do you know what I'm saying? We are all fortunate enough to be able to deal with it. I'm talking about the women
Tell
who
me,
are not going to go to
Umar,
clubs.
Umar,
but-
a woman,
But you
what?
know, I
what?
think that if a woman is walking down a street and if you are, say, touched by a man, okay, and if you turn around and you say, "What the hell," and you make a fuss, I'm telling you, if there are 3 men standing
He will
around, they
think-
will beat up that guy.
Exactly.
वो तो इतने
But
भाई आ
not
जाएंगे
even
आप भूल
हाँ.
जाएंगे
वो करते हैं.
लेकिन
But
सारा-
so if women do that, can't you know,
Sarah,
turn it
let's take
to
it from
your
a different
advantage?
approach. You are a 3.
But that's a good message.
Yes,
that's a very good point. Take advantage of that.
हम चाहे इस मुल्क की चाहे कितनी बुराई करें, चाहे मर्दों को हम हमारे अलावा कितना बुरा भला बोले, लेकिन एक बात है, कोई औरत अगर सड़क पे छेड़ी जाए और वो सिर्फ ये कह दे मुझे छेड़ा, तो उसके जिंदगी में इतने भाई नहीं बनेंगे जितने उस वक्त
मौके
मिल
पे
जाएंगे।
बन जाएंगे।
कम बखत तुम्हारी माँ बहनें नहीं है क्या ये? और वो उसको बहुत से लोग मार रहे होंगे, पूछेंगे क्यों मार रहे, ये नहीं पता भाई, वो मार रहा था, मैं भी मार रहा हूँ।
We have put ourselves in this position in our society. When you say a woman in a workplace, the Masi who comes to clean your floors is also a woman in a workplace. These women go to houses where the lady of the house is not often there, the sons are there, the husbands are there, and work behind closed doors, right? But I mean, why does harassment have to be restricted to a desktop job? I
You'd be
mean,
surprised the level of
no, I am
harassment
sure
happening
it
in
is.
those
I'm
homes.
sure it happens
No, but it's
everywhere.
not.
No, it
what you're
does.
saying is
It
that
does.
it's not restricted
does.
to that.
Not at all.
It spreads.
It's not. I don't think harassment is
But-
restricted to the workplace.
that's
It
exactly
is
what Umar is
restricted
saying.
to
Where
women
does
on all
that need
levels.
go?
Whether it be a Masi or whether it be a woman in a very high position, maybe I don't know.
लेकिन
an
मासी के
executive
पास
position.
एडवांटेज है, मासियों की किल्लत इतनी है कि मासी तो कह रही मैं नौकरी छोड़ दूंगी, साहब कहता है भाई तू ना जाना।
Since we're just touching the domestic thing, there's an organization called ASHA, Alliance Against Sexual Harassment.
Yeah, apparently it's
And
one of the
they-
most active ones in
it's
the
very
region.
active.
Yes.
It is very active. They're doing a lot of wonderful stuff for women.
Yeah.
They actually documented that 203 cases reported last year alone were suicides due to domestic harassment.
Suicides
Yes.
due to.
जी.
Okay, so we're not. I mean, when you were saying why is it restricted to the
basically-
workplace, it's domestic
अच्छा
harassment.
आशा
too.
जो है उसका काम जैसे लिखा है, it aims to publicize the issue and assist the government and private sectors to find ways
Yes,
to deal.
yes.
तो अगर
they
किसी
are
के
working big time on trying to fix this whole Hadood ornaments and
तो अगर किसी का ये इशू हो तो वो आशा को अप्रोच कर सकते हैं,
absolutely, and get guidance from them.
and Asha is an organization who
Yes.
will
They
basically
also
help you.
get, yeah, legal help and stuff like that.
We live in Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Islamic Jamhuriya Pakistan,
Have something.
जहाँ
to
पर
say
we
about
have a
that.
lot of Islamic values.
Yes.
लेकिन वो तो हमने देखा कि भाई लड़की हुई तो बुरा हुआ, वो एक और बात है। हमारे इस माहौल में, इस एरिया में, अनफॉर्चुनेटली अ वुमन, मुस्लिम वुमन, जिसके बारे में कुरान में पूरी सूरह आ गई कि औरत की इज्जत, औरत के हकूक़, औरत की बात, a woman does not even have the right to decide if she's had enough children or not.
Well, first things first. Okay. In the Quran, it is written, that women bear equal rights as men. Okay,
It clearly says in the Quran. I have a quote here from, it's probably one of the surahs, but it doesn't say which surah it is. Man and woman, it says, were created of a single soul.
So that's
And moral equals in the sight of God.
now. Here's the thing: women are given equal right in the sense that they can have their own businesses.
We have the right
Okay,
to divorce.
they have the right to divorce. They
to
have the
inherit
right.
property.
Wait, hang on. They have the right to choose their suitor. Yeah. They can decide. Listen, I think we can only afford to have 2 children. right
अफोर्ड की बात मेरी मर्जी नहीं है भाई
Just
बहुत हो
मर्जी नहीं बहुत हो गया ठीक है ना
मेरे-
I can't deal with it
मेरी कमर टूट रही है।
हाँ I have medical issues I can't do it and the man says yeah right okay but anyway that's something else now here's where in my opinion okay women are superior okay the first thing is we all forget where we came from as men in Pakistan okay when we're saying कि यार बच्ची हो गई ये तो लड़की हुई बहुत बुरा हुआ है we forget that oh hang on a second we do have mothers that's the first basic thing that we forget and again this is something which is not the देहातों में नहीं होता कि लड़की हो गई है तो बच्चे करो it's happening in our family in our own family कि भाई लड़की हो रही है नहीं करते जाओ बच्चे पैदा जब तक लड़का होता नहीं है वो जब लड़का भी पैदा होता है वो निकम्मा होता है
फिर जब बेटा होता है तो थाले आती है मिठाई
ठीक है ना but anyhow women this is where women surpass men they bear children okay they have to deal with the menstrual cycle okay they have to deal with bringing up the child in a male predominant society the element of significance is the fact that yes it does happen why is it that the girls have to dress up and serve tea when someone comes with their rishta do you get what I'm saying why is it that yes and actually lower social income groups often especially now that there's they're getting more educated the woman and the man is working but the woman still has to go home make sure there's food cooked
Exactly.
woman has to make sure goes home she has to put the kid to sleep woman goes home and makes sure खाबंद आया वो भी काम उसने भी काम किया मैंने भी काम
Bear
किया
with the
लेकिन उसकी जूती भी मैंने
tantrums,
उतारी उसके पैर भी मैंने दबाने
लेकिन जो आप बात करते हैं ये इसमें कसूर आदमियों का नहीं है ये तो
Exactly.
माँ ने
वही तो
सेट
मरियम
किया
कह
है
रही है
Coming
जब
back to
से
the point I made initially.
That's what Mariam
जो मरियम मिश्र में कहा तो माँ ने ये तो शुरू से औरत को सिखाया जा रहा है कि बीवी ये भाई आ रहा है इसके पराठे लगाओ चाहे तुम्हारा इम्तिहान हो रहा है तुम पढ़ रही हो लेकिन भाई क्योंकि दोस्तों के भाई के दोस्त आए हुए हैं तो अरे यार चाय तो दे दे उसको
But I'm just saying, not having brought up like that, like what you just described, there are many of us who are brought up like that. Many of my friends, many of my colleagues, a lot of people I know who are brought up like that. A lot of people I know who were in one family, the woman will be really liberal, the sister will be really liberal, but when the brother may not be that liberal, but he will find it okay to point a finger at other women and not point a finger at his sister, and therefore in a society where he's always told he's right no matter what he thinks.
ये भी
I don't know if I said
हमारी
that
बड़ी
right.
खतरनाक
No,
बिल्कुल
I
हमारी
didn't.
खतरनाक बीमारी है हमारे मर्द की एक ये कि जो पहलू में चाहिए है वो पतलून भी पहने साथ में सिगरेट भी पिए और हंसती बोलती भी हो और हम दूसरे की हम हर औरत को देखेंगे भी और उसके बारे में सोचेंगे भी लेकिन जहाँ किसी ने हमारी बहन की तरफ देखा तो उसकी आंखें निकाल के बाहर रख देंगे
I agree that okay, we belong to a certain, having been educated and working in a good place, there are women who come from different backgrounds and they face more problems. But I do also agree with Mariam there that they can empower themselves. Okay,
Yes.
you should
At
not
any
rely
level.
on a
At any
man to
level.
empower you or free you. You have to free yourself. You have to get that confidence. And I feel if women are now, अगर जब काम करने निकल ही रहे हो आप, ठीक है, तो आप ये चीज भी अपने अंदर पैदा कर लो.
हाँ, सही.
If you've come out with the confidence to go out there and work and sit in the bus and go to work and then come back in a bus and walk down that street that you were saying, then just
And
No,
right
we
now,
have
our
it inside
society
you.
or any society actually all over the world, but especially Pakistan, it's a very favorable environment for women to work because there's a huge, there's a lot of importance that's being given to diversity and inclusion. The government seeks it. I know that in multinational banks or multinational companies or foreign banks, they prefer a lot more women to be working than already are. So, I mean, for us, we already have an advantage.
Women definitely have certain advantages. For instance, in our business, all of our PR, I get her to deal with it. All of our promotions, women have certain advantages. I'm not saying that you may have the same advantages, but the fact of the matter is, We have to share the workload. She's better at certain things than I am. It's very simple. I would encourage at this point all the rich, powerful, wealthy women out there to encourage and try and educate their employees, okay, on these matters, so they can come out of this social taboo.
Not just employees, I would say those who are in a safer position should go out and support those who are not, even
Right.
their own social
Yeah,
structure.
I think that's pretty much
Not
it.
even lower.
Okay.
जिनके पास ताकत आ गई वो जाके दूसरों में, जिनके पास नहीं वो समझें कि वो बहुत ताकतवर है, औरत कमजोर नहीं है. We would encourage people to come out to our website, which is looseends.tv. और last जो हमारी बैठक थी, उसके बाद we got a lot of interesting messages,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have requested for,
And they've
you know,
started a discussion.
जी, तो this conversation, this effort does not end here. Umar,
Absolutely.
you go to the website, there's a discussion forum, you can take it, and this discussion continues. और अगर हमारी इस बातचीत में कोई ऐसी बातें रह गई हैं which can actually have been missed out and pointed out at the website, we'll come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
They will
And-
not be forgotten.
I'll also, just as a point, within the first 24 hours, I think we had almost over 5,000 people who actually viewed the communication that took place on the site.
This is in
which
the past 4
shows
days,
that,
yes.
yeah, which shows that it's actually possible your word will be heard.
जी.
So even if you want to keep it discreet, but you have a question, you want to know how to deal with something, just
Or
take
you
the
want
step.
to bring
Just
up
take the
anything
step.
that we
Yeah.
might have missed.
Or if you just want to share an experience you think others would benefit from.
Yeah.
We have one very interesting message from this young lady on the website. It says, awareness about female sexual abuse perpetrators has increased in recent years. I hope that this is true. And
It is true.
And I hope that
a fact.
with our earlier conversation last time, we have been able to encourage parents, children to handle child abuse better. And likewise, I hope that this conversation will let
Make
the
a
women
difference.
make a difference, let the women
Yeah.
understand what they can do.
I think the women of today, of all social levels, can make a difference. And right now, the time that we are, the position our country is in with its political parties and so on, it's a great opportunity to encourage women who are not capable and give them the tools to come up and actually face the war, and those who are capable and exposed to actually, stop looking at their vanity and actually try and make a difference too, because all it will probably take is an hour of your day. Spend 1 hour less at the beauty parlor.
There's another message posted by Miss Aisha here. Hi, just wanted to say great show. Well, thank you. It's about time child abuse and the extent and severity of its unfortunate existence is discussed. I find this important. This country needs to be aware of the fact that it does happen all the time and need to accept it. Denial just makes things easier. It does not make things disappear.
Denial is destructive.
She has mentioned this for child abuse only, but I think this applies to just about all
Almost
of these,
all the topics that
all of
we'll
this,
probably
all of
touch.
these things
Yeah.
which are, we are living in such denial that we have forgotten that all these termites have really just
Comes
eaten up
down to
from
the
within.
same thing. जैसे आप कह रहे थे अपनी ताकत को पहचानो.
And thank you for watching us today. We'll see you next week.